Good evening, this is Pine Leaf Needles, and welcome to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO, and here at LOTRO Players. And tonight we have with us Draculetta,
Greetings, everybody.
Ethelros,
Hey.
Braxwolf,
Hello, Lotro.
Andang,
Hey, everybody.
and Sithrith.
Hello.
And today we have a great deal of news, so let us get started. And we'll begin with the Update 14 Executive Producer's Letter. Anding, I think you had a bit to say on this.
Yes, Pine Leaf. There was a lot that went on in the letter, and in fact, our listeners just listened to our emergency meeting where we discussed about all the various things that went on in this letter. And you guys already listened to that on the podcast, and there's a link below on YouTube for those of you that want to listen to our discussion on that. But it was a great producer's letter with a ton of information about some changes that they made to their game plan due to player feedback.
All right, very well. And as a summary for those of you who are listening live and did not just hear that discussion, it was that there are no plans to raise the level cap a second time this year. Second is that they are making a modification to the legendary item system. They're adding a new system in there that at level 100 you'll be able to imbue your legendary item, which will lock its abilities and allow it to grow with you as you level. And finally is that they are now planning to start the Bjorning at level 1.
And it will have its own starter experience, supposedly.
Which is not a starter zone.
No.
They did confirm
Right.
that on the forums.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Great. Anyone want to add anything else to that before we go on, since you've already discussed that?
Well, you and Drac haven't.
Yeah, if you and Drac have anything you guys want to say about your opinions on things like no level cap happening, I know Drac doesn't necessarily like that. If you want to talk about that a bit, Drac.
I just really think it's a mistake to not do the level cap now. Because you're gonna have a whole other zone, so what are you gonna do? I mean, what's the purpose? I mean, other than to see the new area that's going to be coming, what's the purpose of doing the content? Because you'll be at level cap.
But they'll have a new epic battle.
Yeah. Don't even get me started on that either. But
Pine Leaf, I don't
I
think you
just-
need to join Draculetta's marketing team anytime soon.
It's another one you'll have to do as well, Drac.
yeah. Like I said, don't get me started on that one. But yeah, I just really think they're making a mistake by not doing a level cap again. I can't see their logic in it. I'm sure.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think it's worth the LI thing and the Bjorning thing? Because they said that that's why they're doing it this way.
The LI, yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
The LI changes, I guess I can kind of see not doing a cap because you can actually get your LI how you want it now and not have to decon it. So okay, I guess. And then again, I'm not seeing the whole logic in the Bjorning starting them at level 1. I'm apparently in the minority about this.
I agree with you too, though.
Apparently there was a big uproar about it starting at 50, but I don't get that either.
Yeah, real quick, I wonder if if there's a silent majority, or if this was the actual
Well-
majority that wanted it the other way around.
The majority
I
doesn't care
know-
either way.
Yeah, that's probably
I
true.
personally was really against the Bjorning starting at level 50, and there was a multiple page thread in the player suggestions forums for a while asking them to at least give the option of starting at level 1. So,
Yeah, I just wonder if
Yeah.
there's going to be a multi-thread page thing now that they announced this, which there's already a discussion kind of sort of forming about that, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes.
Well, I mean, the thing is, though, like, you can get, like, there's a way to get to level 50. There isn't a way to
And-
retroactively start at level 1.
That's my biggest problem with them starting at level 1. Now, they're going to
Yeah.
push.
Well, they've been pushing it with the
Well,
shield run, too. It's kind of
it's
weird, but yeah.
going to be worse now with the Bjorn. It's like, oh, you don't want to go 1 to 50? Here you go. Spend this money and you can get to 50 right away.
Yeah, but at least you've got the choice whether you want to spend it or not. I mean, nobody's putting a gun to your head and forcing you to buy the Valar thing.
Well, I don't think anyone was putting their gun to their head and saying you have to create a Beorning at level 50.
I don't
No.
think guns are a thing involved in any of this process.
But you didn't have a choice before. It started at level 50, period. That was it. You did not have a player
Right,
choice.
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like,
Right, I can.
it's like, before they announced the level 1 thing, like I said, I would be willing to pay more if I got to start at level 1, but that wasn't an option. But now, it is, and
I mean, I'm a big altaholic, and I'll be the first to admit that. But are you really, really, truly looking forward to grinding through 1 to 100 again?
might do it.
sure, I like leveling. I like leveling through the old zones.
Yeah,
I
some of my
haven't
favorite stuff is
leveled.
at the low levels.
Pineleaf,
I haven't-
your vote doesn't necessarily count in this. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
I think you're in the minority here.
You're not human.
Wow.
Wow.
But, yeah, I
There's no
haven't
going back from that,
leveled
Athelros.
from-
That's some.
I haven't leveled an alt from 1 to 100 in a long time, so when the Bjorning comes out, that's a great opportunity to do it.
Well, seeing that they only raised the cap to 100, it's hard to say.
Well, I mean, like, from 1 all the way to whatever the level cap is. Aside from, my counting, which kind of, it was kind of rushing through the levels rather than going at my own pace.
Well,
Except for now.
let me ask you guys this. Let's say at 120 or sometime later, because they did say they have more class ideas, they introduce another new class. Do you want to also have to level that class from 1 to 120 again? Assuming that they have another one?
That's a long way.
Because that's, like, it's just going to get longer and longer, and if they are going to, if the Beorning's a success, I'm sure they're going to look into creating more, so... I don't know, would you guys be interested at that point also doing this again, or?
I'd be tempted to buy whatever the Valar is at that point, because I doubt they would leave it at 50.
Yeah.
I would be tempted.
Alright. Anything
I
else,
would be
finally?
tempted. I would probably just level at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your thoughts on all this then, Pineleaf? Since you weren't on that call with me either. I mean, what's your thoughts on the letter?
Overall, I really like the LI change that they're considering. I could go either way concerning the decision on the level cap, and if the change to the Bjorning and the change in the LI system requires them not to have a level cap because they can only have developers one way or the other, I'd say don't worry about the level cap increase.
Yeah, they did confirm that on the forums, just to be clear, that is why they did it this way, was so that they could actually have the time to do the other stuff as well.
Yeah. And they are going to have an ultimate system of advancement for that update.
Yeah, there is
So
some new system that they're introducing as well, so...
We will see what happens there. All right, any other comments on this matter before we go on? Because there's an even bigger set after this.
Yep.
All right, then let's go to the Rowan Q&A session where he talks about a few other things because, of course, people ask questions and there's a response to the matter. And the first item on here was that the cancellation of the level cap increase for U15 allowed them to do the planned LI revamp and the other changes. So therefore, that's the first thing that we put on our list on our summary of the article. Ethros, you wrote this summary. Why don't you continue?
Can I just say that Pineleaf missed like a really good transition point? He's usually so good with segues, but I mean, he could have just like, magically caused the conversation to go from there to this article, and it would have been great. But
You know
yeah.
what else happened this week? A Q&A with Rowan.
That was a good segue, Ethelros.
Wow, he's gunning for your job finally.
He is.
Someone had to do it. Anyway, yeah, there was a Q&A with Rowan. But
Lots
yeah,
of
there was
loses,
actually yeah, I'm not sticking with that job. There was actually quite a lot of info that came out of this Q&A, both with regards to how they're actually devoting the resources to various things, as we mentioned just now, and also what stuff they're planning ahead, especially for Update 15, which is coming this year. One of the big news is the Epic Story and the Epic Battle for Update 15 will be free to all players. So that's good that they're continuing the Epic being free. And surprisingly, the Epic Battle as well. Although the next point, which is that the Epic Battle is again within the Epic Story, as it was with Helm's Deep and Skirmishes in Mirkwood, is a thing. Since they are tied together, they would have to either both be paid for or both be free.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this next one will actually be more tied in with the story, especially with it being a different type, which I'm sure we'll get to later on. But it'll be interesting to see if it's more integrated to actually make sense. But I guess it doesn't matter as much since it's going to be free this time.
The other news for the Epic Battle is that it's going to be consisting of retaking Pelagia, which is a city of Gondor on the edge of where their former territory is with Harad, and the Army of the Dead in an offensive Epic Battle, which is going to be very different from the other ones in that we're actually moving forward and taking objectives. I believe they also mentioned that this one there won't be a sort of time limit on it. So instead of with the other Epic Battles where you're sort of just biding your time, waiting for the battle to end on its own, you have to go through and do it yourself, and you're not pressed to rush or anything like that. You can go at your own pace.
Yeah, and I talked with Drac a little bit about this earlier this week. So, Drac, my question for you. Does this give you hope for the Epic Battle system, and does it make you excited for it?
I wouldn't go as far as to say hope. Hope is a very, very strong word, my friend.
It's also a title of a good Star Wars movie.
Yeah, we won't go there.
So it's a new hope.
I saw that movie.
I thought one was called Star Wars.
Anyway,
So back to your hope, Drac.
I'm cautiously optimistic. I'll put it that way.
It's a
But
great
but
phrase
still,
to use.
that's impressive considering how much you hate the system. That
Oh yeah,
that-
yeah. My hatred of the Epic Battle system is fairly well known at this point. So I definitely think an offensive Epic Battle might make me a little more interested in them if they don't screw it up.
yeah,
Can I
that
presume you prefer offensive skirmishes to defensive ones?
Yes, I do actually.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, so I'm hoping that that's going to make me like it a lot more. Even though I already like the other one, but yeah.
yeah, I think that
Less condiment, please.
I think with this being a free part of the Epic, this is really their, in my opinion, last chance to really convince players that the Epic Battle system is going to work. If they require the next ones, with Minas Tirith and stuff to cost money. I think that this is really their last chance to create a totally different type of Epic Battle and really convince players that they have been putting a ton of work into the system and are going to make it work for when we get to that big battle in the end. Not the title of Big Battles. I'm not getting it confused, Drac. Don't worry. Don't kill me. It's Epic Battles. But yeah, once we get to that next Epic Battle. Yeah.
My only fear in all of this is they're getting dangerously close to Minas Tirith. So whatever they do now is pretty much, I would say, going to say how they're going to handle Minas Tirith, and they cannot screw Minas Tirith up.
Mm-hmm.
To an extent, anyway. I mean, this is, as you say, an offensive one, but when we get to Minas Tirith, it's back to defending things again.
Right, but they could learn a
Well-
lot of things from this one and what players like to try to make it work for Minas Tirith.
Yeah. Certain things they could learn from, yes, but in the end, you're not going to be able to go through and take things as you would before.
Well, on Pelennor, the Battle of Pelennor goes back and forth all the way through.
Yeah, we could be taking. There might be multiple epic battles that we do, and some of them might be defensive, and some of them might be offensive.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be multiple, but I think that you're right. I think we will have defensive and offensive. It makes sense for the story that's there, especially with this one. We're going to be working with Aragorn going through there. I'm assuming that there will be another one when Aragorn arrives at Minas Tirith that will probably be doing offensive again.
Well, just bear in mind that unlike what the movies show, and I do like them, it's that the orcs never actually break through the front gate and actually enter Minas Tirith. Only the Witch King does, and then he leaves. So there's not actually that much of a struggle inside the city in the books. It's mainly just on the walls, I think, and that's it. And obviously a bunch of catapults flinging things around.
Yeah, Turbine
Right,
plays
but I mean-
with the lore before though, so they might go the movie route with it.
Right, and
Like,
we
for
did
ex-
defensive stuff on the wall for Helm's Deep, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it, I lost where I was. Update 15 will also have another landscape group area like we have with Tarling's Crown in West Gondor. And according to Rowan, it's actually very, very difficult. They've actually required like a full proper group with healers and tanks and all that.
I thought he was
Which,
talking about
actually-
Tarling's Crown when he said that one. I could be
hope
wrong.
it's not worse
So-
than that.
Tarling's Crown is very painful. I tried to do it with a group earlier today, and we got destroyed. Like our group wasn't.
I heard it's
optimized
because
at all.
the pulls are very odd and pull way too many
They
at once.
respawned very quickly too, but I think the thing was they just did so much damage. These mobs, like even like we had champions with us, and they're usually fairly tanky, but they were just getting shredded by these guys. So I'm thinking that they've definitely souped up these group areas. It's nice to see them continuing with it though, because I did like the Limelight Gorge method of adding landscape group content. Okay then.
Right. Then, yes, and they mentioned that you'll be combating the Haradrim in U15, which will be
Yeah.
a group we haven't met before.
Or the half trolls, because I believe you mentioned those too. Which would be an
Yes,
interesting
yeah,
thing to
and the
look at.
half
What are they?
trolls.
Half of.
Yeah, what's the other half?
I'm
We
guessing
just want to
human, which is not a pleasant
know.
thought, to be honest.
Yes, and
That's terrifying.
though I think they said something that this particular group of Haradrim won't be having Oliphants with them because they came by ship. Is that what I heard?
Right,
Yes, I
yeah.
believe
But
that's the
he
case.
did clarify later that future areas there's a good chance that they will be there. It's just that this area they're just not there in
Yeah.
the lore.
Yes,
So
future areas it would make sense because they obviously did bring Oliphants through on the other side of the Anduin
But that was
as
through
Frodo and
Osgiliath, I
Framsal.
believe, wasn't it?
Yeah, through Ithilden, yeah.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, in this particular area, they were coming by ship, and yeah, elephants are hard to transport by ship.
I can imagine.
I'm sure people have done it in the past, but enough for an army.
I haven't.
And Oliphants,
Oh, okay.
which are like
Yeah, elephants are bigger than regular elephants. You're right; they're even bigger than elephants. So therefore, yes, they would be rather.
Especially in
difficult to
Peter
get.
Jackson's world.
Yes. Well, yes, but even Tolkien said that they were larger than any modern elephant.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I like how you used
he
modern there.
He also talked a bit about the Dead Marshes update, which is, I think you mentioned before, it's going to be a sort of an area where you'll look around and then take part in session plays of presumably Frodo, Sam, and Gollum, which I think is probably most similar to the if people have been in East Rohan with Amon Hen, you sort of look around and find items that show you what happened. I suspect it's going to be something like that. So we'll
Yeah.
find like a bit of Lembus or something like that that tells the story, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this update. I actually was the one that asked the question about this, and I'm actually really excited about this. I know it's not that big of an update, but I think it's a great moment for LOTRO to really show what's going on with Frodo and Sam, and it might be one of our last until, near the end. And so I'm really looking forward to this update. I think Maid of Lions has a great opportunity here to really flesh some stuff out. So I'm excited.
Right. Now they
I
also
wonder
else?
if I
Pine
wonder
Leaf.
if we'll be able to see the black gates in the draw
Or at least the
distance.
mountains of Mordor, yeah.
That'd be
That'll
pretty
nice to
cool.
see.
Ooh,
I
that
mean,
might-
apparently we are getting the Dawnless Day, so that's
Yeah.
Yes.
That's going to be supposedly
That's
both
gonna be
in the Past the
intense.
Dead and in Central Gondor as well.
mm-hmm.
So that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
all right. Anything else you wish to add concerning this?
There was a kind of mini bombshell he dropped where he made it very much clear that the Beyonding will not be free to anyone. At any
Well,
time.
No,
we
we
were
can't.
expecting that.
Well, they
I
never
was
actually
expecting it
confirmed
at least.
Well, they never confirmed for sure that VIPs wouldn't be getting a discount or for free or something like that. So I think I think that this is exactly how a lot of people expected it to go. But I think it's good that they're finally, setting it in stone how it's going to work.
Yeah, at least
Yeah.
people know early.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been
And-
saving the turbine points for this.
Right.
His little side comment there was, "It's a class," which kind of indicates we charge for classes.
Yeah, which
Yeah, that's
is expected. I'm not at all surprised by that. The amount of time that they're having to devote to it, especially now that it's 1 to 100, that's going to be, a lot of time and a lot of employees, using up their budget. So I'm not surprised by that. One of the well, it wasn't the final thing that he talked about, but he does give us a look forward to even further rather into the future of LOTRO, where he tells us that basically Minas Tirith is going to be broken up into two parts, where there's the Siege of Minas Tirith in 2015, and then the Battle of Pelennor Fields in presumably early 2016.
basically the first part of it will be the Siege of Gondor up until the Rohirrim arrive.
Mm-hmm. So
And
that's
that's
going to be
a-
depressing. If we thought that Wildermore was depressing, that's going to be a depressing note to end on.
Well, that's how.
Well, actually,
that's
a
what
hopeful
Tolkien.
one if
Problem,
you hear-
I think, though, that they're going to end it at the same point where Tolkien does,
Probably.
with the crowing of the rooster.
All right, Pineleaf, are you making the Corey Olsen-esque prediction, like Rock the Raven, but instead this time with the rooster, where there'll be the rooster popping up and talking to players?
The rooster. No, see, the entire thing is because at the end of the Battle of the Siege of Gondor, you hear the crowing of a rooster, and the dawnless, and the endless dawn starts to break, and you have the first rays of sunlight, and at the same time you hear the horns in the distance of the arrival of the Rohirrim.
Right.
That was a great chapter of the book.
So there
Oh,
is
yeah.
there is hope at the end, and that's the point
Yeah.
of it. So it's not a depressing cliffhanger; it's one of hope.
Okay.
there you go then.
I can definitely see it either way. It'll be interesting to see how that all works. I am surprised though that they are splitting it up into across different years, even if it's probably not separated by that many months.
I mean, it is. Thinking about it, it's not too surprising considering the sheer amount of work it would take to do both.
Right.
The
Yeah.
whole Minas Tirith siege and then Pelennor Fields.
But when you
It's-
think about the fact that they've never done anything like that before, I thought it was kind of surprising. But I am really excited now. The fact that they're really spending their time in Minas Tirith, because that's probably going to be the the maybe just at the end of 2015 and then continued over into 2016, and so there's going to be a lot of great story through there, I'm sure. Just spending time in Minas Tirith during its various stages.
Yes. Now, of course, all this has to do with the future of what's coming up in the future. We have to, of course, now address what's coming up now. Update 14 was released on Monday. And Sithrit, what do you got to say about that?
That was a segue, Pineleaf.
Uh, um, update 14 was good. I'm not sure why you're asking me specifically, but
You wrote
I
the
liked
article.
That's how it works.
it.
You
No.
wrote the article.
Oh.
The release notes article.
Oh, right. The release notes. I didn't write the release notes, but I formatted them.
You must have figured you read them if you formatted them.
Right. Okay. I get it. Okay, so West Gondor is a thing now. Although now I'm looking at the article and it says West Gondar, so that's the thing. So apparently I failed at formatting these.
It's only been out there a week. Don't worry about it.
Oh, great start. So yeah, West Gondor, we've got Blackroot Vale, Lamadon, Havens of Belfalas, Delamroth, all sorts of quests there, of course. New volume to the Epic Stories with Volume 4, starting with Eowyn in Dunharrow. We've got the Essence system, which is a new thing. It's not fully implemented, but you can still get socketable items, which, you'll get a piece of armor and there'll be some it'll say like empty slot or empty socket, I don't remember which, on the piece of armor. And I've gotten essences as world drops. I believe you can barter for some, and there's other various ways of getting essences that they plan on introducing later as well. And basically it's just like creating your own armor stats. You pick what stats you want, put it in the armor. Ta-da!
Ta-da.
So they're slowly implementing that. And of course, also the level cap has been raised to level 100. So that's really cool. It's double what it was when the game launched.
Big milestone.
Yes, it is a big milestone.
This is just me, but I think the no more Pima wolf cripples should have been of special note.
Yes.
Because that's been an annoyance for as long as I've been playing the game.
Oh, yeah.
They still have like a 1 minute cripple that stacks on top of itself, and they will spam it at you. That's just great.
Yep, deeding for wolves was always a problem, but not anymore.
Hooray.
Yay. So, yeah, that we'll say that. Yeah, no more wolf cripples, yay. That's the
Well,
thing.
there are wolf cripples. It's just that they
Well, there
expire
are
after
wolf
9
cripples.
seconds out of combat.
Right, they're not the, insane wolf cripples that existed before. So, yeah, there's also the City Watch of Dol Amroth. I haven't gotten there, so I can't really speak a whole lot to it. Maybe someone else can talk about that. Something about server unlocks. I'm not 100% clear on that, because, again, I've just been trying to get through the base quests as it is. Anybody?
Dalros.
I'm not 100, so I won't be able to tell you.
Yeah, I have a feeling that there aren't too many. Is anyone here 100 yet?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Okay.
Ooh.
Yep.
Okay,
We're taking
well,
our
that
time.
answers that.
Oh, no, I'm not.
So,
We'll get to that in a
Okay.
minute,
The game
Dalros.
doesn't
Yeah.
want
we'll
it.
get there. I'm not going to go through the whole release notes because there's a lot of them,
Oh, no,
especially
don't
there's a
need-
lot of class changes. There's a lot of class changes, so I definitely recommend checking out the release notes and looking up your class, because there's quite a few changes. If
And-
you've logged in, you might have noticed that you have to re-specialize and redo your trait trees and all that fun stuff. There's been some tweaks to epic battles and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
therefore,
there's
that.
World Channel now. That's a thing.
Oh,
Oh
that's
yes,
There's
there's a
a
World Channel.
officially sanctioned World Channel, and that's interesting. If you've been playing for a while, you might know that there is a player-created channel that you can join called GLFF, or some other servers have different names for it, like Unity or Global or whatever. And that was always kind of a little weird because not everybody would join it, and I guess because it was a player-created channel, there was problems with enforcing community guidelines on it, and people were erroneously using GLFF number like log because whenever you log into a player channel, it tells you how many people are in it, and people were using that to judge how many people were online on a server, which is not a good way to judge
No.
population for a number of reasons. So now we have World Channel.
And
Especially considering that the GLFF sometimes on some servers made themselves look like a bad environment. So many people probably, if even if they knew about it, might not have subscribed to it.
Well, and depending on which world chat on which server you join, it's still some interesting conversations, we'll say.
Yeah.
It's way worse than GLFF ever thought about being.
Oh yeah, because
on land
But at
level, it's
least
not bad actually.
GFs can
actually, Athelros,
do
there
more
were some
things.
cases on Landerville where it actually did get pretty bad, even on
I've
Landerville.
been on there for for a few days, pretty much since launch, playing obviously
During-
Quest and all that. In short bursts, there are certain people who turn up and start saying things like that. What you expect.
During
But I think
adventures, it was
that's-
very interesting today.
Yeah, it's like aside from those like short occasions, it's generally pretty decent.
On
in my
Landerville.
experience.
On Brandywine, totally different ballgame.
I've
Yeah,
been surprised. Winfolo's not been too bad, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say the same
surprised.
thing. Maybe it has something to do with the smaller population, but I have not seen anything offensive at all in World Chat on Winfola.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't subscribe to GLFF on Winfolo because people were like just nasty and it was all whatever. But they seem to have calmed down for World Channel for some reason, which I'm okay with.
I'm guessing all the more louder people left for
Possibly.
Brandywine.
All right, very well. And those are the release notes for Update 14, and Anding would like to give us his first impressions on it.
Yes,
Especially-
and oh, you weren't done with your segue. That was probably going to be great, finally. I'm terribly sorry.
Go ahead.
But yeah, I wrote up an article about my first impressions of the new area, and I have to say, really enjoying it. Particularly one of the early session plays you get in the first region is just absolutely amazing, and makes all the other quests worthwhile. Not that they weren't, but it does a fantastic job. There's the new landscape of Gondor. There's, from the Paths of the Dead to the sea, there's all kinds of these new, all sorts of new art and various places to explore. There's patrolling ships, which are amazing. I love those things. Whichever dev did that needs to get a raise. One thing that I don't necessarily like, although now that I'm in a little bit further, I'm not necessarily sure that this is the case. But I think that's kind of weird that we're once again entering into, the back door of Gondor, essentially. And, everything's going on at the front door. And we're kind of just stuck here going through Gondor, which I do like usually when it goes through like that with LOTRO, but I think they maybe went maybe a little bit too in depth with Rohan, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with Gondor. But Gondor has an advantage where it's not just this single conflict. It has all these various different enemies that are attacking from all these different angles. And so it does lend itself to a lot more interesting story, and so I think I can bear a little bit more. Taking a little bit more time to get to where we need to. Plus, they need it for the epic battles just to have development time for those. But Atharos, what were your initial thoughts of the new area?
Well, at the moment, I've done pretty much all of the quests that I can do outside of the repeatable endgame. The landscape that I've been through is pretty much all they've topped themselves again, pretty much. I think, aside from maybe overdoing it on the heads and wings in Dol Amroth, they maybe could have removed a few of those
Yeah.
a bit, maybe, perhaps. But aside from that, it's really good. The sheer amount of screenshot material in that zone, it's way above anything else they've done.
Yeah.
I know there's this one cave. This might be spoilers, by the way, but
Should
I
I
feel like we
turn
should
my
just put-
sound off?
I think we should.
big spoiler tag over everything.
Yeah, but I think we should save any major spoilers for the review show. This is just kind of our first
It's-
impressions.
Well, yeah.
well, I'm just saying there's this cave in a certain area that has a certain group of people in it, and it looks great. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
That's incredibly vague, but I can't go any more into it without spoiling it. So, but yeah, landscape is great. The epic I thought was okay. It wasn't knock my socks off, but I think that's kind of pretty much the same as the other volume 1 or volume book ones, because none of the others really were that impressive to me, except maybe for 3.
Yeah,
Because I know I was watching you go through volume 2. It has a very slow start as well.
Yeah, I mean, basically they reset
mentioned-
the story, they reset the difficulty, they basically, reset the whole game when they start a new volume,
Like-
it seems.
You mentioned how volume 4 sort of like shovels you straight into Gondor without so much as a reference to what happened before. That's pretty much what volume 2 did.
Yep.
It's just like, hey, I'm a dwarf and we're going to get to Moria. And that's it.
Okay.
Let's go.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It introduces some interesting characters, and I can see they're sort of planning out. They see these plot threads going. I'm curious as to where they'll go. It's a good enough start, I think. It's a good stable foundation for a story they're presumably building.
What about the other quests in the region? What do you think of those?
The quests or landscape quests, I'm very happy with those. I think they're actually better than the epic at this point. The
I agree.
writing is pretty much on top form, and it introduces some very interesting characters. I don't know if I want to say his name without spoiling it, but since a new side, who knows who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm a big
I
fan.
mention it. There's a guy, and he does things. He's from a certain group of people who generally aren't considered friendly. But
Yeah,
he
I
is
like the
friendly.
way they've played with the enemies we're fighting in this one aren't really. It's not like, oh, they're orcs, so they're bad. The end.
They're
Like,
kind of
I feel like
Dunlending-ish, kind of.
yeah,
Not
they're
so
kind of
much,
Dunlending-ish, but I feel like I don't know. I like them better than Dunlendings because I don't know. I don't want to go into it too much. I can't. Spoilers.
So,
There's a guy in
Life
Peace
is hard.
and he's interesting.
Sithrith, why don't you go ahead and give your first impressions?
Yeah. Well, like I was just saying, I really like the landscape quests. I also agree that I feel like the landscape quests are more interesting than the epic stories. The epic story, to me, feels kind of more like the epics and landscape quests we've had in the past, where it's like, go talk to this person tells their story, kill things, go back, they send you to someone else, they tell you their story, rinse, repeat.
Oh,
Whereas,
I don't want to interrupt yours, but that
go ahead.
reminded me that the one point of the epic I did like was the session play. I don't know if people have gone through it yet, but there is a session play that is there.
Yeah, there is a session play, and that's pretty cool. Their session
fact you
play
have
is
a
generally
choice.
pretty great.
The fact they gave you a choice, I think, is unique in all the session plays they've done.
Yeah,
Especially
and
since it's not like a story. It's not like super important kind of choice. It's just
It
like
doesn't affect anything now. It just shows you the two
Right.
different perspectives.
it doesn't,
unless
but
it shows
when
up later on.
well, there's that, but at the same time, it's like it's a choice that you don't expect coming, and so when you get it, it's like,
Oh,
oh wow, and then you'd like, have to really think about it for a second, and then move forward. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed that session play in that first early area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I made the same choice at first that everyone else did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most people made that choice.
It's
I've
getting
been
to
very
know
One or
vague.
two people out there.
But yeah,
Zinger.
yeah.
Yeah. There's this dude, and he's like, whoa. And then there's one that thing is like, woo. That was my dramatic interpretation of Zinger's comment. But yeah, I've been liking Update 14 so far. The landscape quests are definitely great, and yeah, the screenshots, there's just like endless amazing screenshots. Like I feel like at any point while you are playing in Western Gondor, you can just stop, turn off your UI, and take a screenshot, and it's gonna be awesome. It's just really hard to find a place that isn't pretty in Western Gondor.
Unless it's raining, because it does rain an awful lot in this area.
It does, but see, the thing is, I even like the rain. Like, I feel like they've upped their cloud tech, and even the overcast skies look pretty and realistic now.
Yeah.
So that's. But yeah, I've only just kind of started questing in Belfala, so I'm not too far along. But everything I've come across has been pretty awesome so far.
Okay, Brax.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out. This is just initial impressions, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's just initial impressions.
Because my initial impressions of Helm's Deep were pretty favorable, but when I did it 3 times, then there wasn't a lot of staying power there. My initial impressions of this update are very favorable. Really, really enjoying the new landscape, enjoying the questing. The questing flow is very, very good. The auto-bestowed quests are done well. There's a soft spot in my heart for Gondor. That's where I created Braxwolf to be from. So it was kind of a homecoming for him. I felt like as he crossed over the border of the Path of the Dead and saw Gondor again for the first time. And I guess I'm trying to figure out. It feels to me, just the feeling, the play style of the new area feels a lot more like the old LOTRO to me. And I don't know exactly how to describe that to people, but it feels a lot more like the pre-Moria, pre-Rohan areas of LOTRO than those areas I just described. And I don't know if it's because there's less mounted combat, or if it's just that I'm compelled so much more to explore again. I never really felt like exploring Rohan was all that interesting.
I think there's a few reasons. They don't just point you out to places, for one. It's more just because a lot of it's much more rural than previous areas, whereas we had been getting to, like Moria, that's, just kind of all crafted to have like certain paths and things like that. And this is much more open. Also, there's kind of like the difficulty reset, the story reset, where you're kind of just starting out things again, which we haven't done since before free to play. So that's it's been a long time.
The difficulty is a good thing too, because I've seen other people that disagree, but I feel like the difficulty is higher once again. I don't know if it's because the mobs are typically a couple levels above you, or if it's because they lead you into areas where there's multiples. But it does seem like my morale bar is sinking a lot quicker than it
I
used to.
would say it is. It's harder.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's 2 main reasons that it might feel more like the older zones. I think the first is that it's a little more hub based than Helm's Deep was, because I think with Helm's Deep it's sort of like they give you one quest to go to a place and then you get all those. With this, it's more like a couple to maybe go to different parts, like a little bit away from each other. It's a bit more hub based than it was previously.
I've also noticed that some of the quests specifically do not turn on the quest guide in the minimap.
That's exactly what I was going to say then. It encourages exploration more.
And they give you
quests,
they also give you more quests at once, which is something they haven't done in a long time. Like I've noticed that I'm getting usually about 6, counting the bounties and things like that, about 6 quests at once, whereas normally it's like 3 or maybe even less than that, the amount that you get. So I think that plays a large role in it too.
Yeah, I think they learned from doing their revamps, because I think those came after Helm's Deep, didn't they? I think.
Yes.
The new areas,
yeah. They were update 13.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think they learned from that, because I remember the dev diaries mentioned that they I think the other thing was splitting up the gating so you can go to a different area and quest there without having to have gone to other ones first. Because I know when I went to a couple of enemy camps, I could walk straight in there with no like leading quest and do some quests there, like half a dozen of them or more.
Right, that was a big problem with Rohan, where it was very linear to the point where you couldn't do things outside of that linear quest progression.
Yeah.
You had to follow the line.
And I'm thinking that is well, both makes it feel more like the older zones and will hopefully also make it easier to go through on olds. I assume Drac can say more about that than I can, but yeah.
Anything else, Brax?
Yeah, so I like it. I mean, my initial impressions are that this is probably my favorite zone to come out since Eastern Rohan and possibly even before.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. Drac, what do you think?
I can't really add that much different than what everybody else has said. And to answer your question, Etheros, yeah, I'm running 4 characters through right now. So it is, and it's not. It doesn't seem like I'm repeating the same quest over and over again, if that makes sense. Even though I am, it's the way it progresses and everything. It doesn't seem like I'm doing that. The one thing I can add that nobody's touched on, which I'm surprised nobody said anything, is the music is amazing.
It's good, yeah.
And I realize, and then again, we all know it's not Chance Thomas, but it's really, really good. They're using a lot of violins, which I think is a really nice touch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're definitely using that new acoustic room or whatever that they just built at Turbine.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a plus. The only problem
But
I've noticed is that sometimes, occasionally, like the nice, pretty harp and violin music will cut out, and the Hobnanigans music starts playing, and it
Yep.
drives me up a wall.
Yep.
All the Helm's Deep epic battle music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
In
like I start
Lamadon,
hearing
they
those
play
two,
that.
and I just immediately turn my music off because I can't stand it.
Yeah.
Especially
The
the Hobnanigans,
battle
'cause it's just
music
like,
too.
ugh.
The like in combat music was very strange.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it
don't
felt
like
sort
the
of
in-combat music.
sad compared to like most other combat music in the game, which is sort of bombastic and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of drums in it. This one's coming up seemed like solemn compared to that,
Yeah.
which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
I appreciate that it's different and that they're trying to do something different because I do get kind of tired of hearing the same music over and over throughout all the zones, especially with combat music. So I appreciate that they're trying something different. I don't think it's ideal, but I mean, as long as they don't spam it for
I
the
think
next
part of
couple
the
of
problem
zones.
might be that you only hear the first 20 seconds most of the time because of how short the fights are.
Yeah.
As a captain, I don't have that problem, but
All right. Well, Pine Leaf, why don't you give us your thoughts and then close us out of this section?
All right, very well. I have only gotten through the first area so far since I am doing a blind playthrough on my YouTube channel, which of course means I won't be able to go past it in any of the other characters until my YouTube character goes through, and that of course is slowing me down because I only have so much space on my disk drive to hold videos. Therefore, I've only seen the first zone. So far, what I see seems to be very good. You've got a very nice, beautiful landscape. And I did see one Corsair so far.
Okay.
And they
Was it a
seem-
good experience?
Well, he attacked me, of course.
Well, that wasn't very nice of him.
But at least I know. But yeah, I do like what they did with the Corsairs. That seems to be very good. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to listen to the music because I don't play the music because I don't play music on because I'm doing the YouTube videos and all that stuff. So therefore, I haven't heard all this wonderful music that people have been hearing. But so far, it seems to be a very nice zone. The only thing that bugs me is not about Western Gondor, but about a bug that was introduced concerning the skirmish captains.
The skirmish captains, the skirmish intros, there seem to be a lot of skirmish issues for some reason.
Yes, so therefore I won't be able to train my soldier until that gets resolved. But hopefully they'll get a 14.1 or a 14.01 out soon that will correct that.
Quick, Turbine, before Pineleaf melts.
Goes into withdrawal from lack of skirmishing.
He will.
Yes.
Like, it'll be terrible. Like,
Now, speaking of the music to LOTRO, I believe Brax has an article about the Utah Symphony.
You nailed that one, Pine Leaf. Yes. Very cool thing here. And as announced on the Facebook page of Chance Thomas, who was the longtime composer of Lord of the Rings Online music, going back to Shadows of Angmar, Mines of Moria, Riders of Rohan, all of the classic tunes that you hear throughout the game, basically announced that his theme for Rohan, I think it's called, which was part of the Riders of Rohan expansion pack, is going to be performed by the Utah Symphony as a part of a video game concert performance that they're doing on September 6th of 2014. And the real cool part is they've actually asked Chance Thomas to come and guest conduct the piece for the Utah Symphony. So he was very excited about that. And also thought that it was interesting that almost the exact same day that we saw this announced, the executive producer live stream, one of the questions was, are we going to see any more Chance Thomas music? And the answer was kind of, well, yeah, we've been in conversations. So it sounds like maybe they're walking down the path of bringing Mr. Thomas back in to do some more LOTRO music.
I will prepay. I will prepay for the music if that's what it takes to pay Chance Thomas to get here. I will prepay for my copy of Chance Thomas's soundtrack if that is what it takes to get him back.
By the way, there is a link in the post. If you are in the Utah area, I don't know if there's an area for Utah, but if you're in the area, you can still purchase tickets for this event. And it sounds like it's a pretty cool deal. They do all video game music with the Utah Symphony for this night, so it'd be pretty fun to see.
Yeah.
Is that in Salt Lake?
Yes, Salt Lake City.
Okay. All right, that concludes our major news section. Now we, of course, have our weekly store sales. Drac.
Free sample of the week, skill and Slayer Deed boost ×1. Use coupon code STA7. STA7. As with all codes, you get one of those per account, so choose wisely. This week's sales, 25% off quest packs. Just a note, this does not include the new West Gondor quest pack. Mithril coins also on sale, 100% XP boost for 1 hour, and max morale and power scrolls on sale as well for 25% off in the LOTRO store.
You're going to need that XP boost. Just saying.
All right, then. And that concludes the LOTRO news for this week, for the game news. And yeah, so we have some weeks where we're well off before this point, and we're just finishing the first segment. For now, we go into the players' news. And we'll begin with a poll of what is your favorite zone?
Starter zone.
Yes, starter zone. Yes, okay, yes. Your favorite starter zone, yes.
So, early on, like about halfway through the week, there were actually some interesting results to this poll, and then it kind of got to where we all expected it to go. But early on, Arid Lewin was actually in the lead for like the first 2 or 3 days of the poll. It was only by like 1 vote, and it kept like getting tied and staying Arid Lewin. And then the Shire finally pulled ahead near the latter half of the week. And there's still only 5 votes separating. So the Shire has 87 and Arid Lewin has 83 for the favorite starter zone. Bree does come in third, obviously, because there's not any more starter zones. And 5 people actually said that they don't like any of the starter zones in LOTRO, which kind of surprised me, but definitely understandable. But it was looking like that we were going to finally break every other poll that had been done for this, where it's always the Shire, but then the Shire pulled ahead near the end.
Now, what's interesting here is that the Arid Luine has two opportunities because those who because you have both the elven and the dwarven area in
Yeah.
there. So
I'm actually surprised that Evan Lewin has so many votes, considering that I was like, from what I understood, it was generally thought of as like the red-headed stepchild of the starter areas because it doesn't have that major lore connection of the Shire and Breland. But yeah, I'm surprised it's so popular.
What are you trying to say about dwarves, Ethelros?
I don't know.
Red-headed
Saying that I
stepdwarves.
thought it was generally thought of as kind of
Yeah,
bland,
yeah, it definitely is. But let's go around the horn here. What are your guys' favorite starter zones? For me, it's Bree, just because I create men and that's where they live. But what about the rest of you, Ethelros?
I don't know.
All right, well,
I
we'll.
mean,
Okay.
yeah, move on till.
Okay, Brax.
Breeland, just because that was where my first character came from, and it's got kind of that nostalgic feel. For
Yeah,
me.
I'm the same way. Sithith?
Yeah, I play pretty much all humans when possible, so Breland also.
Okay, does anyone not play human other than the three of us?
We know Pineleaf doesn't,
Yep.
usually.
right, I'm usually on a hobbit.
So I assume you like the Shire most.
Of course.
All right, and Ethelros, just to give you, the courtesy of coming back, what's your favorite? I'm gonna put you on the spot. Drac, you don't have to answer unless you want to. But Ethelros, what's your favorite zone?
I can answer if he needs more time.
Okay, Drac.
Yeah, let him go. Let him go.
Mine, of course, is Arid Lewin because I play elves most of the time. I have one non-elf, and that's a human.
So I feel like really what this poll is kind of getting at is what race is your favorite?
Yeah, it
Because that kind of
kinda
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, they're definitely connected. They're definitely connected. So Ethelros.
The Shire's great. I mean, it has like some interesting quests, but those pie quests just drive me insane.
Yeah, I'm there with you.
Eredwin's kind of has the interesting snowy aspect to it, but it's a bit bland in terms of the quest content. So I think Breland, I have the most memories of that place, and Bree, on its own, I think especially after its revamp, it has to win it for me. It's just such so many memories of that place, nostalgia-wise.
Yeah, Lillicate from the chat says the Shire exclamation point, which is really no surprise considering how much she loves hobbits. But yeah, we actually had 248 votes in this poll, which is the most we've had in a long time, possibly the most we've ever had in a poll. So it seemed to be a pretty popular topic.
Oh, by the way, I'm looking at it and it says 250.
Oh, well, apparently Pineleaf and Pineleaf's all
Mine
voted.
says 249.
Mine says 250.
Okay, so it seems
But that's
like
a
it
game
went
we
up.
can play later.
Yep.
What does the poll say?
Theros, I don't need to go to your parties. They sound pretty boring. But
You expect anything else?
well, you are known as Eeyore, so
All right, very well. Now we'll go in. There is a new piece of fan fiction that started, The Family Line in the Wake of the Raising. And that is Tim a new writer?
yes, Tim is a new writer because there's a note in the show notes that you should be reading Pineleaf. And I think that it's awesome that we're still getting new writers. We actually got 2 new ones this week, which we'll get to in a second. But it seems like LOTRO's really been bouncing back. We've been getting a lot of people returning back to creating the various series that they were doing. We're getting new people asking to write for the site. It seems like that LOTRO is really bouncing back, and people are really getting back into the game with Gondor, which really didn't happen as much with Helm's Deep. So it's interesting to see kind of how the player base goes through. But anyway, Tim did start a new series on the site since he is a new writer. And it is a fan fiction series, and it is amazing. It takes place in Rohan, and it is just pure awesome. It keeps you excited through the whole thing, and I recommend everybody check it out. He does a great job conveying this first part of the story.
And I just also want to chime in real quick and say it's also really awesome because it is a Rohan-based fan fiction. And the thing is, a lot of the fan fiction that gets written about LOTRO usually either is Hobbit stuff, elf stuff, or takes place in Breeland. So it's good to see fan fiction taking place in some of the newer, later zones because you don't really see a whole
Definitely.
lot of that.
Definitely.
All right, very well. And our other new writer this week is D. Jinzali.
Yes, our good
That's-
friend Estelle Ali.
Oh, that's Esther Ali.
Yeah, that's not what his writer name is on the site, but that is Estelle Ali that is bringing the poems because he does do poetry, and he is actually bringing a poem to us through here. And Pine Leaf, the best part about this weekly series is that it just about guarantees that there is a poem every week. And so if you go down below Gandalf's picture there, you can see the poem that was sent in by a fan to Ali.
Surprise.
Happy birthday.
You said down in the show notes?
It's in the article for LOTRO
you mean that
poems,
poem.
and it's at the
Yeah,
bottom
of
of
course
this
there'd be a
article.
poem in LOTRO Poems.
Yep.
Yes, I have seen that already.
Okay, sorry to confuse you, but if you would please grace us with your reading.
Very well. Olorine, when all the hope was lost, when all the hope was gone, he came, like a beacon of light in the shadow of night, his mighty ancient sword of flame, his pointy hat and long beard, smoking his pipe weed, riding his white steed. He is loved by all, not feared. His humility was exemplary, and his grace a steward, a passenger, a wizard, a messenger. He wasn't a man, nor of velvish race. He walked with the mighty powers in west. His mission was high when the end was nigh. Fought the evil of Moria, he passed the test. Wandering the middle earth from Ithilien to Bree, telling his tales with a pint of ale, from arid Luine to the lonely mountain to dale. He cares for hobbits, elves, dwarves, and men free. Now in the land of Aman he walks once more, in company of Niena, Manwë, and Varda, faded the power of Narya in Arda, a far green country beyond the white shore.
Yay, Pine Leaf!
Yay.
And there is a email that is at the bottom of this article that you can send your poems in for Estelle Ali to go over, and there's a good chance Pine Leaf will probably read them. So feel free to send those in.
All right, very well. Then we'll now go to Anday. Something about Volume 1. Now that we're starting Volume 4, sounds like someone's finishing Volume 1.
Yes, Pine Leaf, it took me a long time, but I'm finally out of the Volume 1 series that I was in for a year and 9 months. Basically, the majority of the time I've had my YouTube channel, I've been gradually grinding through Volume 1 of the epic story. And started out not really knowing anything about YouTube, microphones, anything really. And so you can just skip over the first 10 episodes. But after that, I start to learn a little bit about those things. And what was fun for me was seeing just how far that I progressed through the series, because it's been with my channel the whole time, and just doing something over and over and over again, eventually you get a little bit better each time, and it's been a lot of fun. I always forget just how good the epic story is, as is true with really any fantastic story. You forget the little details that really make the story awesome each time, and definitely enjoyed it through this time, and also decided to torture myself and go ahead and start Volume 2 because I'm crazy. But yeah, it was a lot of fun going through this.
Volume 1 was quite an adventure. So, how did the adventurers of
Oh, wow.
Multiplayer's Adventures do?
That was a segue. We had a lot of fun. We actually beat Heligrod Pineleaf. I thought for sure we'd fail. But we actually
I
did.
certainly thought so.
Yeah, we actually did defeat the dragon. It took a few attempts, to be fair, but we did eventually bring it down. We did have Jack at 95, but we don't need to mention that, so I'll
We
just
didn't
edit
have
that out later.
24 people there.
Well, that's true, and
Last
so.
instance of, it's the last instance of Shadows of Angmar too.
Yep. So we moved into Moria this week on the show, and
Apropos.
and are having fun going through that. So.
In addition to that, we also had a new episode of LOTRO Academy, episode 96. Don't talk about siege turtles.
That show's still
Dracula,
around.
Yep. Yes. Dracula, you have any comments on that?
I see, but now you're going to cut out because you mentioned siege turtles. If anybody listened to the episode, you don't talk about it because your internet connection.
Exactly, Pineleaf. You cursed the show. Come on.
Should have talked about battle lobsters.
Battle lobsters.
Maybe we should just create a new show that is battle lobsters versus siege turtles.
I bet that our site would be a lot more popular if we did that, but I don't know. I don't know if we actually want to do that or not, though.
Yeah,
The loser gets made into soup.
Wow. This
Hey.
this is really starting to become a show. Okay.
The stakes get higher.
Very well. I think that's enough.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, Brax, I heard that you made it back to Gondor.
Yes, in fact, I did, and so did my character. So it was really the perfect time to bring back the Letters from the West fan fiction series that I do very sporadically. The cool thing I think about this letter was that really leading all the way up to this, most of the letters from Braxwolf to his sister have been kind of either in a very dark place because of their surroundings or kind of confused as to what's going on around them. And the tone for this particular letter was much more hopeful. He's now survived the siege on Helm's Deep. He's seen the strength of the Rohirrim, and he's entering back into his homeland, which he was banished from in order to assist in the darkness there. So it was a much more hopeful letter. It was much more confident. Really, the only thing that he's still confused about is why everybody's so worried about these two hobbits that wandered off in the woods. So give that a read and let me know what you think. I really enjoy putting those out there every once in a while, and was inspired to do so with the new area. So
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
hopeful, then he gets to go to the Dead Marshes.
he doesn't know that yet.
All right, very well. And Lily Kate posted an article about an upcoming music festival on Crick Hollow, Shirefest, which will be August 15th through 17th, 2014. And there will be plenty of music there, that's guaranteed. And in fact, the orchestra that Lily Kate conducts is going to be there.
Awesome.
So at least to some semblance of, I can't remember where, I don't know if we got enough for 24, but we should have a good 14 or 13 there at least. So it's a nice sized group, even when we're half strength. Since, of course, we had to all go there and get characters on Crick Hollow. And of course, if music isn't the only thing you care about, there's also a Storytellers Festival, which is going to be Saturday, September 13th at 4 p.m. server time, where artists are going to compete for the best poems, ballads, or spooky story. And that'll be done by the Windy Acres Ranch. And the Windy Acres Ranch is, of course, on Landraville.
Pineleaf, are you going to voice all of these stories?
I'm not too sure we've got time for that.
I was just curious. That'd be a great stream.
Right? Very well. And Lily Kate being busy and posting articles. Also, Lily Kate's landscape tours, Dole Amroth to Morlad. And that, of course, is in Gondor. So she did a video, a 10-minute video, where she takes you from Dole Amroth all the way up to Morlad.
Yeah, this reminded me a lot of back with the CSTM videos, back when they'd start somewhere in the in the landscape and go somewhere else, and it was really cool seeing this video because it reminded me so much of that, and it was awesome.
Their revamp one. That was
Oh,
the most
yeah.
familiar one to me.
Yeah, that was the most viewed one, if I remember right. Like, people absolutely loved that video. That'd actually probably be something good for video highlights. Thanks for bringing that up, Atharos.
Hey.
Yeah.
Very well. Now, Cithrus, you brought not one but two outfits this week. So what are they?
Well, yes, I did two outfits. The first one is called Rambler, and it's because it was requested that I do a kind of non-combat but not dressy outfit. And so this outfit's kind of for just traveling around, town, like going to towns and stuff. So it's kind of just a very plain leather and cloth outfit. It's got the adventurer's hat, also known as the cowboy hat by some. And yeah, it's just kind of a very basic outfit. And I like this outfit because in the video I have the campaign backpack on, but it's a great outfit that you can customize because there's so many different kind of specialization specific backpacks available at Lolly's Market and the LOTRO store and stuff. So like if you have a traveling cook, you can use the cook's trappings or whatever. And so it's pretty easy to customize that. And the other outfit is the Scout of Western Gondor, which is fitting because Western Gondor got released this week. And actually, there is a title. You can get the title Scout of West Gondor in game, which I didn't know until after I released this outfit. So you can wear this outfit and have the matching title. So that's cool. And that outfit uses some shoulder guards that you can get as a quest reward in the epics, like one of the first couple of quests. And it's got the Tree of Gondor sigil on the shoulders. And it uses the black and white colors of Gondor. So, yeah, you can be a traveling person or you can be a Gondorian scout this week.
All right. Thank you very much. And apparently, Cithrus is not the only one getting into cosmetics this week because Lily Kate started a series in which she is showing you every variation of some of the easily attainable outfits. In this case, this week she worked on the let's make sure, the common long-sleeved dress, which is purchasable at an outfitter. So it's very easy to get this outfit. And she shows it in all the various colors.
I love being able to just look at all the various ones at the same time. It's just, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so she starts out with an overlay showing all the various items all in a row, and then she shows them individually in a video so that you can see how each of them looks at a larger size. And then, of course, the favorites of both hers and for her daughters are shown in separate pictures in addition to this. So how they chose to do it. And sure, they're not dressed, but they also have some highlights that they are adding to it in addition. For example, Lily Kate is carrying a basket of eggs in hers, and Lizzie Rose is carrying a basket of apples.
While we're talking about cosmetics quickly before we move on, I just want to point out that the number of wardrobe slots has actually been expanded from 150 to 200. with update 14.
Yeah.
So if you are like me and are always in need of wardrobe slots, that is available now. There's no wardrobe sale on right now, but if you are really, really dying for wardrobe slots, the maximum is now 200.
All right, very well. That's something to take into account. Thank you for that information, and I'm sure that as soon as it does go on sale, there will be plenty of people buying a large amount of wardrobe space.
Mm-hmm.
Very well. Now that takes care of the players' news, so it's time to go into Brax's pick of the week.
This is not a cosmetics post. It's actually the exact
Darn.
opposite.
Good start.
Yeah. SuperdataResearch.com put something out on July 17th called the U.S. Digital Games Market Update, June of 2014. And crux of it was really talking mostly about the revenue for online games of subscription versus microtransactions, which we typically read as subscription versus free-to-play. And the conclusion that they kind of come to with a lot of their fancy charts and graphs here are that subscription revenues for online games are steadily declining and have been since pretty much 2010 or so, while microtransaction has remained relatively flat, pretty much the same. So overall revenue is kind of going down for online games, but it was actually pretty inflated around 2009, 2010, so kind of to be expected. The thing that I found really interesting chart right at the top that shows subscription-based MMO titles and the amount of revenue pulled in and market share for each one of these. Now, for some reason, there are several games listed in this chart that are typically thought of as free-to-play. Rift is in there, as is Lord of the Rings Online and Star Wars: The Old Republic. The most interesting thing to me was that Lord of the Rings Online comes in at number 5 on this chart with a revenue of $104 million for 2013. That was last year, the year that we had the Helm's Deep expansion come out that seemed like everybody or a lot of folks were fairly down on when people started predicting the end of LOTRO. And yet they pulled in $104 million in revenue and hold on to a 4% market share of MMO subscription-based games, which doesn't sound like a lot at 4%, but considering that the only MMO above 10% is World of Warcraft, it's really not too bad. Now, keep in mind, revenue does not mean profits. Revenue just means the amount of money you've taken in. It doesn't, you still have to pay your staff, and it's very possible that the profits of Lord of the Rings Online is lower than some of these other games. But as far as the amount of money coming in, they were still bringing in a lot of money in 2013, over $100 million.
Yeah.
So I tend to think that financially, this game is probably still in pretty good shape just by looking at those numbers. And that's what really interested me the most about this article.
Yeah, I would like to also point out we also don't know how much Warner Brothers takes from the cut for based on development back into the game versus actual like pure profit. So just like to point
I'm
that out.
taking a little bit of a leap there. I mean, we don't know anything other than revenue and market share, which is, that doesn't really tell you how financially healthy something is. But I was surprised to see it that high on the list. That gives me a little more confidence that things are going better than possibly the unofficial forums might have you think.
Right. And I see that it was just above Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
and
surprised that Rift is so low.
Yeah, that's
actually.
what really
above
surprised me.
Eve and above Rift, right?
I'm surprised that Elder Scrolls does not even show up on the chart at all.
Well, this was
Well,
2013.
2013.
The big MMOs. Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah, this was last year. It does mention for Elder Scrolls Online that they are actually holding their subscriptions a lot better than people thought. It says they've got 770,000 subscribers still, even after that month period has expired. So that's as of June. So they aren't predicting the end of subscription anytime soon, but the revenue for subscriptions does seem to be declining, which makes sense because there's been a lot more free-to-play competition come into effect since 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this kind of once again shows just how big World of Warcraft is. I mean, it has almost 10 times the revenue.
Yes, still huge.
Mm.
Almost
Yeah.
40% market.
They also don't show, I guarantee you that Activision does not let them put even half of that back into the game. So, I mean, it just because they're making a ton of money doesn't mean that it's, making a better game, which is something I do want to point out.
All right.
Yeah, throwing money at a game also doesn't necessarily
Yep.
mean it's a good game.
Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, but a good pick, Brax.
Yes. Very well. Now let's go to the news beyond LOTRO. And the first of these is the Nazgul Part 3.
Yes, finally.
And-
I believe that this is the last section of this series, since he did start another new series this week. But definitely awesome if you're even remotely curious about Nazgul lore, or the lore of Lord of the Rings. This is just fantastic. There's some great images in here too. Just a great article that goes in depth on the lore.
Yeah. Seeing that includes the Battle of the Pelennor Fields, yes, I would think that would be the end of the series.
Most likely.
Although he seems to have something else planned.
Well, that's
Yeah.
The last sentence of his article is didn't go by.
Well, yes, there is that. And especially considering that he now has a series started called A Necromancer Above All, Part 1.
Exactly. And not going to spoil who the Necromancer is for those Hobbit movie fans that just have no idea. But
Oh, ouch.
but that wasn't meant as a slight in any way. I just don't want to spoil it for anybody.
Sounded like it.
No, I was being legitimate. I really don't want to spoil it for anybody. But I'd
Well,
recommend.
They don't say that in The Hobbit anywhere. That's only mentioned in The Lord of the Rings.
Exactly.
All right. Very
So,
well.
anyway, this is another fantastic article with more great images of the great lore that Tolkien has made, and just summarizes it and puts it into nice bite-sized pieces for people to digest.
All right. Very well. And now we'll go into our starter zone.
Thank you, Pine Leaf. I always wanted to say that. Today we're going to be talking about CC in the starter zone. So for those of you who have just started playing the game and have made it this far into the podcast, congratulations. We have something for you. CC stands for crowd control. And basically what it is it's a way for your character to control the battlefield, so to speak. So you can stop the enemy from doing something, and it comes in several different flavors. So one of the ways that you can control them is through dazes or mezzes. This might be something that you hear on the forums. And basically when you daze a mob, it means they can't move or attack, but any damage will break them out of that mezz. So you might be able to stun them temporarily, but if somebody accidentally hits them in your fellowship, or if you accidentally hit them with an AoE attack, that's area of effect, that will break them out of the mezz. A stun is something that means a mob cannot move or attack. Damage will not break it. It tends to be a lot shorter than a mezz. Mezzes can last up to 60 seconds, especially if you're using a lore master traded correctly. A knockdown is a stun that can't be broken out of with potions. And this is in relation to if you get knocked down. And I guess if mobs get knocked down, that means they can't break out of it for any reason at all either. I know that the hunter traded yellow, or has a skill in the yellow line called Tripwire that is a knockdown, and it works on just about every mob. I've been really surprised by how many big bosses that the knockdown Tripwire works on. And it's pretty cool. It doesn't last very long, but they can't do anything when they're in the knockdown state. There's a thing called a root, and in a root you can basically stick a mob in place so that they can't move around and they can't come at you and they can't come at your fellowship, but they can still attack you with ranged attacks. So roots are good for if you've got a mob that you know is melee and you want to stick them in one place and move away from them and take care of somebody else. And then there is the fear. The fear is something where you scare a mob into running away for a certain period of time, and they can't attack you, obviously, because they're very scared. For hunters, this is the Bard's Arrow is a good example of a fear that you can put on a mob. So these are all terms that you might hear, and they sound very interchangeable. I know for myself, I usually interchange mezzes and stuns all the time and don't even realize it. But there are subtle differences between some of these ways that you can control a mob. As far as crowd control classes in LOTRO go, probably the best one is the Lore Master. It has the most different types of crowd control skills. And besides being a kind of a power supplier to fellowships and groups, they are known for their crowd control and ability to debuff as well. But a lot of crowd control goes into the Lore Master. Burglars have a few crowd control stuns and mezzes. And I found that the Hunter, when traded on the yellow line, actually does a pretty good job of crowd control too, because of the traps that they're given.
Yeah, Champion in Yellow Line also does a ton of crowd control.
Crowd control is is mostly useful when you're in groups, but if you have a squishy class like a Lore Master and occasionally the Hunter, it is good to be able to CC some foes when you're doing solo landscape stuff as well. So that way you don't have to be taking damage, especially like if you're a single target character like a burglar or a hunter, where you can't do a lot of AoE damage. You'll be taking damage from one mob while trying to burn down the other. Well, this allows you to control one of them, take down the guy that's moving around, and then go back to the guy that you've CC'd. It's very useful in landscape from that perspective.
All right, thank you very much. And now we'll go into our donations for this week, unless there are anything else someone wants to add before that. Very well. This week we did not receive any donations, but we would love your support. To help LOTRO players, simply go to the donations page where you can help support the podcast of LOTRO players and also help support the site. We have $5 and $10 mentions where you can donate and get the mention on one or all of our active podcasts for an episode depending on the amount. For $5, you will get a mention on the podcast of your choice. For $10 or more, you'll get a mention on all of our active podcasts. As for feedback, we have a review from Mr. Helpful, who left a 4-star review on iTunes. Re-review. In just a few episodes, this podcast has started to make the most of its giant array of hosts. Seriously, I don't know of any podcast with this many hosts. When things are clicking, the distinct viewpoints and humor of each host comes through, and the time definitely seems very well spent. I love the new segments too.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Helpful, for helping us make some adjustments to our show and make it be better quality. So thank you very much.
He lived up to his name.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That was.
Mm-hmm.
And now we'll have a featured comments. Mermir left a comment on the producer's letter article. Oh, wow. So, only 5 to 6 years after releasing legendary items, you add the kind of functionality people were expecting from day one. Good job.
Slight hint of sarcasm.
It's a light hit there. Yeah.
At the very least, in Pineleaf's voice, there was sarcasm.
Tiny Bell left a comment on the producer's letter article. Well, I don't think that will make everybody happy, but I am liking the no more level cap increase and leveling legendaries. Goblin's Bane left a comment on the producer's letter article. You see a trend here.
Yeah, it's almost like there was
Well,
news.
Yes. Well, without level cap rise, there is, in my opinion, no point to release Central Gondor Pelagear this year. What for region full of empty XP and gear that is not better when in previous regions? Bjornings and Bree? Huh. It makes that class even more stupid idea than it was. Only LI decision is good, but it should be done from level 50. So it is still a half-baked solution introduced many years too late. Huge disappointment, stupid decisions, don't count on my money turbine for a long time.
So
Wow.
this is obviously a comment that really didn't like the changes with the producer's letter, and I think that with Turbine changing things to go towards what they think the majority of players want, they might have also offended other players in the process. And so that's kind of my thing is that, there's, well, a lot of people don't complain unless there's something wrong. They don't go to the forums and give feedback unless there's something wrong usually. So just my kind of 2 cents
I
on
don't
this one.
understand the too late argument. I mean, if they're making changes for the better, I mean, what does it matter whether it's too late? If you're still playing the
Too
game,
late for
it's gonna
them,
benefit you. Right?
suppose.
He wanted it to be done at level 50.
No, I understand.
Well,
I
which
understand
we
what
have
they
all-
want.
Just talking about
but-
the
but-
LI solution as just turning up as it is.
Basically, I
as a
think
whole.
he just has a frustration that well, I can't say we all have because there are some people that do like the LA system. It's broke.
Fair.
It's been broken forever. It needed this fix. And I don't understand why it took them so long to do this fix.
Yeah, my
If
main
this even works.
right. My main issue though from the beginning is that what they said it was going to be is not what it is, and even the way they described it after the fact was still not what it is because they act like you have this special item that you're going to hold on to, and that just never happened really.
That's never been a thing.
Hmm.
That's because, and I know this will never happen, but if they were going to do a change to the LI system, I think they just needed to completely wipe it out and start from scratch. I think the inherent system is so screwed up as it is now. I don't think there's going to be anything that's going to fix it.
Yeah, I do think
Then
that
on the
these
flip
change.
side, I think it's too embedded into the game now, and the amount
Mhm.
of resources it would take to rebuild from scratch would probably be too much.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
people didn't think they would be changing the classes as much as they did. I mean, the class system was deeply, obviously rooted in the game, and they totally revamped that.
That's
And
true.
how long that took them, and the amount of stuff.
Yeah, but they did
Stuff
do it. So
Right, but
I
just
understand not liking the system, but I don't understand why people are upset that it's too late. I mean, if you're gonna do it now. Do it sometime. Do it when you can do it. Do it. You
Yeah.
know,
Late,
And-
I
Just do it.
understand. Yeah, too late is a different thing.
Yep.
Yes. Now, Frameless left a comment on the producer's letter article. I'm concerned about the potential, the loss of flexibility in Long Island, in legendary items by locking in their I'm sorry, I lived in Long Island for quite a number of years. LI means Long Island to me.
I can't wait for the Long Island revamp.
I'm sure that came too late too.
If the developers make changes to class skills, traits, or the legacies themselves, which is happening a lot in this very update, we'll be stuck with the legacies we have. If another legacy becomes more desirable, it sounds like we'll have to start all over again, just like we always have.
Which is a good point, but bearing in mind that they've only just announced this, and they've already said they're working through this with the Players Council among other alpha testers and all that stuff, I imagine they're going to bring this sort of thing up. So given how early in the development it is, I'm not too worried about this at this point.
At the very least, it opens up discussion because before this, they weren't even up to making improvements to the system based on player feedback. They just kind of closed off, really any type of player communication on this system. It was just kind of the thing that they just would not talk
Before-
about. And now
Before
they're.
that, they thought it was fine.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what they said. I don't think that every
Yeah.
single developer at Turbine thought it was fine. That might have been the case, but I find that very unlikely. But I mean, my main thing is this is going to finally allow some type of change and just discussion, and actual a promise of actual change in the update 15. of some sort, even if it's just at the end. And so hopefully they do create something better so they can get player feedback for it to be expanded to the whole thing.
Very well. And finally, Rabbit's Starkfoot left a comment on the article is, I wish they were raising the level cap. I think with the changes to legendary items, there really shouldn't be a problem with leveling up again in a few months since a lot of people were not looking forward to grinding new legendary items. Ah, well, I'm excited to see how this plays out. Now, of course, in this case, this is my own comment now. In this case, of course, we said that if they raised the level cap, they wouldn't have time to do the legendary item change.
Yep.
But I mean, even leaving that aside, I mean, look at this whole endgame thing they have with Dol Amroth with the new gear sets and all that stuff. If they raise the level cap in 3 months, which is presumably when the next update's going to be out, it's going to be completely pointless having done that. It'll be a complete
People
waste
are
of
gonna
time, and a
complain.
lot of people won't even gotten close to completing
And
completing it.
that's why even just once a year, I don't even work for gear, just because I don't see the point, especially with no, instances or things like that coming along. And so, yeah, I definitely see that point.
Very well. Even though we had a huge number of comments to that article, we did not receive any emails. But if you would like to email us, you could email us at lotraplayers.mymiddleearth@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, LotroPlayers at LotroPlayers, Andang at PVMP_Andang, Braxwolf at Braxwolf, Sithrith at Sithrith, Draculetta at Draculetta_72, Etheros at Etheros, Lilykate at LilyKateBuggins, Mystery at MysteryXOX, and Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needles. You could join us live every week on Saturday. Lotro Players Adventures goes live every Saturday at 5 p.m. server time, and Lotro Players News goes live every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. server time. And yes, we are live again. Yay! You could join us by going to lotroplayers.com/live and be sure to join us in the YouTube chat. Thank you for watching. That is all for tonight. And until next time, this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.